As Nate mentioned, he said that he wasn't a great writer, but that is one of the things that's great about communications is that it's a learned skill. So you can learn verbal fluency, you can learn effective writing, you can increase your literacy, your communications literacy every day. So don't feel any kind of way that you stumble over your words or you don't write well, because that is something that you can improve upon. So I'm going to do a quick run through what I call right to the point. And again, I'm Michelle Ann Charles, the president of Communication Club. Glad to be here tonight and wanted to share with you some things that may be helpful to you when you're thinking about written communications. So does anyone know who Wilbur Schramm is?
Repeat the name again, it sounds familiar.
Wilbur Schramm, S-C-H-R-A-M-M. Now he was a researcher and academician in communication theory, and he even created mass communications as an academic discipline. He wrote 30 books, and some of the texts that he wrote are basically in the Communication 101 classes today. So you can blame him for all those communication models you have to memorize. The thing that he said that really was interesting to me was he said that he knew that every day readers are bombarded with information, and if they read all of it, they'll die. Really, because they don't have time to eat, sleep, take a shower, do anything with all of the stuff that's coming in on a day-to-day basis. So readers select a fraction of the pile, right? So think about your email addresses, because I know you have more than one. Think about the email, the text, the stuff you get, snail mail, all of that stuff coming in on a day-to-day basis. You couldn't possibly read every email you get, right? You skim, you read the ones that are most important to you at that moment, right? So you select a fraction of what's foisted on you and you toss the rest. It's actually a survival strategy. So what we need to do is figure out how readers decide which of the pieces of information to process and which to toss. And here's how they do that. They do this calculation. Now, whether it's explicit or implicit, we all do this calculation. We do the expectation of reward divided by the effort required. So if it's going to take a lot for me to get through, if it's going to take 2 minutes, I might not read your piece because it doesn't have enough reward for me, right? So more gain, less pain. I'm looking for something that the reward expected is much greater than the effort. And if the effort outweighs the reward, I'm not going to read it. You think about that. That probably applies to you too. You're most likely to read the copy that gets the most out of it with the least amount of trouble. So that's more gain, less pain. So for instance, I would love to have the body of Cindy Crawford. However, I'd like to do this on a Twix diet. I don't want to work very hard on it, right? That's the same thing true with readers. They want to get the most out of their copy, your copy, while spending the least amount of time and effort on it. So to the extent that you can raise the expectation of reward of your story, you can increase people reading it. To the extent that you can reduce the effort required to read your copy, you can increase readership. If you can do both at the same time, you can dramatically increase the readership of your writing and make it more valuable to the reader. And that's really the most important part. Make it more valuable, more entertaining to the reader. So here are some quick and dirty best practices, okay? Make the average number of sentences in a paragraph to be 3 for written and 2 for online. The average number of words per sentence to be 14 or less. Average number of characters per word, 5. Passive sentences, 0. And your Fleisch reading ease at 60% or higher. Have you ever heard of the Fleisch reading ease? Well, here's the explanation. Basically, and this is what Mr. Schramm developed based on his research, is that so the Fleisch-Kincaid grade level measures how hard your copy is to read, right? So it translates into the number of years of schooling people need to understand your copy. So he believed that you should always target 9th grade or lower. The wider you distribute a piece, the lower the grade level should be. And people think, oh, well, won't I talk down to my audience if I make things very simple? No. We're tired, busy, we're overwhelmed with information. The easier you can make something to digest, the easier people will have make that decision to read it as well as understand it, because that's the goal of communication, is understanding. So reduce the length of your sentences, substitute shorter words for hard words. Use grammar check to identify passive sentences. Use a thesaurus to find shorter substitutes. Target 14 words or less for your sentences. Hit the return key more often. People are trained today to get their information in smaller chunks, like Twitter and Facebook and things like that. We're trained now to expect things in shorter chunks. So make sure that you're using bulleted lists and narrow the focus and cut sections so your topic is very tight. Move sections into sidebars, edit for length. And here's how you turn that on in Word. Oh, that's your target range, by the way. You want to stick within a between 5th to 7th or 8th grade range. Here's how you turn it on in Word. Now, your version of Word may differ, but you'll be able to turn that on. You'll be able to see how hard it is, what kind of education you'll need to read your piece. And if it says 12th grade and above, you need to simplify. Simplify your language. Oh, yes, Microsoft Word. It's amazing. It'll give you the report. It'll tell you the readability statistics. So absolutely use that. And again, in writing, as with all communication, clarity is key. Get rid of the redundancies, condense wordy phrases, use stronger words, vowels, verbs, and nouns. Get rid of the jargon, make complicated sentences clearer, ensure your writing flows smoothly, and just make it overall easy on the reading. You want to get rid of wordiness. Too many unnecessary words can potentially slow readers down and make them more easily distracted. That's 16 words. You can say the same thing more concisely like this. But unnecessary words could slow readers down and distract them. So we've gone from 16 words to 9, I
10.
believe.
Yeah.
10? I didn't say math was my strong suit. You want to eliminate wordiness due to the fact that large, opulent house, general consensus, get rid of your modifiers. Exceedingly large bear. I mean, exceedingly large. That's somewhat vague because my definition of large is different than yours definition of large. Oh no, I keep it on. I keep it on, Karen. Here's wordiness. Due to the fact that is just because, right? Close proximity. Well, proximity means close. You don't need to say close proximity. Bright spotlight. It's just a spotlight. That's what spotlights are. They're very bright. Remember the bear? Exceedingly large bear? It's an immense bear. That's using a vivid descriptor. The baby cried loudly. The baby wailed. Residents of the city. City residents. You want to make your verbs active, not passive. General consensus. It's just consensus. That's what consensus means. And you want to get rid of jargon. Now, jargon isn't wrong in grammatical sense, but it can put off or confuse readers. And just because someone says it that way doesn't mean we have to write it that way. People in business, the military, medical field, and law enforcement are particularly prone to jargon. You want to make sure to get rid of your alphabet soup. Here's your jargon. This is cop speak. After fleeing the scene at a high rate of speed, the vehicle collided with a tree at the intersection of Pawnee and Broadway. A male subject alighted from the suspect vehicle and fled on foot. Officers pursued, and after a brief physical altercation, the suspect was apprehended and placed under arrest. That is cop speak. Here's what happened. The car sped away and hit a tree at Pawnee and Broadway. Then a man got out of the car and ran away. Officers chased him and arrested him. Much easier to understand, don't you think? And as Nate said, whoever tells the best story wins. If you're in court, if you're in business, if you're in politics, if you're talking to your spouse or significant other, whoever tells the best story wins. Storytelling is what we are built for storytelling. We've been telling and listening to stories forever. We understand stories. As a matter of fact, the Communication Club just did an event on storytelling last week. And it was truly inspirational. Let me share the link with you. But truly, when you're writing, you want to tell a story. If you're in court, you're an attorney, you're a police officer, you've got to tell the story. You've got to present your information in a way that people can understand. And certainly if you're presenting this information to a judge or to a jury or to anyone, you really want to make sure that you're persuasive and that you get right to the point.